Okay, so the moment of truth. Well, not really, but um, one of the things that need to do now is we can create the ledger. I think it's time to look into creating the entry. So yeah, and we have to define the state and the instruction along with the context, which is just the array of accounts that are going to be needed to create a new entry. So the idea is like, for now, it's like you connect, you create a ledger. Once you have a ledger kind of tied to the wallet and all that stuff initialized, then it's a matter of, kind of click on a particular ledger, and then you should be able to modify it, like add entries to it. I'm probably will come up with like other instructions like delete entry, modify entry, create entry. I could see that. I mean, it's kind of typical functionality. So yeah, I want to try a couple things though that I haven't done. This is kind of like a combination of what I did with my vote. So like I'd have the voting. You create a poll, and then each poll you can vote, and it will allow you to create multiple votes. But again, these are all PDAs. So like the entry is going to be. I don't want to limit the. I'm sorry for the yelling in the background. Kids. I don't want to limit the wallets like for entries in this case, so it's not the same as like voting. I don't, so what I need to do is I need my kids to shut up. That's one thing, but I'm gonna clean up this. I'm going to use essentially, so like in here, we're going to call it an entry. Public profile. No, we're not. What we're gonna do is for the unique, because it's a PDA. We're going to have an authority. We're not going to have a profile, and we're not going to have a poll. This is all vote stuff. I think what we could do is maybe like so this is like a kind of a combination of my original ledger program where you have a ledger stored in a PDA, and you put in like the matching color string, and then you could pass in like an argument of like what sort of operation do you want to do, how do you want to modify it, and then what by what value, and then it would do it. And that is what I have in the lib. Like, yeah, at first I learned how to do kind of custom instructions. This is all going to error out, but it looked like this, where where I could, you have the context, and the instruction is an actual, so then we get like a mutable ledger, and we modify the balance, which I would, let's see, actually, what would we be modifying when we do a new entry? We're actually modifying, talking this through, my ledger will have the token account. So we will be modifying the token account. We'll be modifying the token account to like deduct or add like tokens. So yeah, maybe it's going to involve some SPL token transfers, along with like evaluate. This is like a like what are we going to do with this? So for example, to modify, we need the ledger account, but then I did something like this. Yeah, here's the custom instruction data that I learned how to do. It was pretty cool. And evaluate a value. And the operation. Yeah, so whatever ledger instruction operation that's passed, which was just a default like 1, 2, 3, or this anything else, that would kind of say, okay, we're going to perform, if you enter a 1, then you're going to do an addition, a 2 for subtraction, multiplication, that sort of thing. It's kind of like a really basic calculator, essentially. And then the operation value was like by how much. So it's going to be like kind of a weird mix of all this stuff, perhaps. It's my thinking as it goes right now. So I'm going to comment this back out because this is older code. But just like with my ledger, we have to define some stuff. So authority, it will have an authority. It won't have that. It won't have that. Vote number. I think the vote number would be good. I'm sorry, I need a part of like reusing codes. Not the vote number. It would actually be the entry number. And this is going to come from the ledger dot entry count plus 1 type of thing. So I'm going to have to modify a little bit on my create entry instruction, or I don't have the I haven't built it yet, but basically vote option, which is an enum. What's the size for enums? 1 plus largest variant size. See, I've done some of this stuff, so I could say like, whoops, let's just call it entry option length, then bump length, that sort of thing. So change the quotes. We're going to change this to entry. So like what other fields will I have? So I have the authority, entry number, not the count, because the count, that would be a kind of a running count of entries on the associated ledger. Entry option. I'm gonna probably reuse this. I may rename some of this eventually, but like what other things would I have? So I need to associate it, like link it. Like how does this entry know to talk to the ledger? Well, let me do so remember, get the authority, the token account, like the things that we're storing in the actual ledger. And remember, like each ledger has a PDA. It's a unique PDA, so we're going to use that. Certainly going to tie that to it. So authority, that, pub, ledger, pub key, which is the ledger PDA. So that's how we make the connection. Remember, thanks to, where did it go? Where did it go? Yeah. Thanks to this project kind of showing how you build the relations. You know, this is going to be kind of like a hash of a prefix. So entry plus, like, say, the authority to create the entry PDA. The thing is, though, is that I'm going to have a unique way of identifying. I can't just use as seeds to create a PDA. I can't just use authority, like the wallet pub key and the ledger pub key, just those two seeds, because you can only generate one unique address from those two seeds. So I need a third seed, something to make it more like unique. The count or entry number is probably going to be the third seed. And that's kind of how I've used it in the past. So another thing that I would like to do is do a timestamp. So pub timestamp. I've never actually used this, but here's from the, or I did I've seen it from this Loris Liva, another Twitter idea. They use it, and it's got all the data size and stuff needed. So they do a type I64. I mean, you know, nice to kind of keep track of that. And timestamp length seems to be 8. 8 bytes. The bump, of course, we're going to store. What else? I think. So the entry option, it's more of like entry type. Really? It's kind of like, what's the I think I'm going to change that to type. So I'm thinking like a debit or a credit some, more like that. Entry number, entry type, which is an enum. Timestamp, I think, will be handy. Authority, the ledger, like the associated ledger that it is, the entry number, the entry type, timestamp. The type will have, it's not going to be, it's going to be entry type, but this is where I need to use my ledger instructions example from so it's yeah, see, so this is kind of cool. It's gonna be different. The idea is, if I go back to ledger lib, the idea would be something like this. I'm going to bring this over. See, I wonder. See, like it was a struct, it wasn't an enum. Well, hang on, like how could I, if it was an enum, no, this worked out really well. I need to leverage this old code. I can't just use this A, B, enum deal, because this was for the voting. Like it's a simple voting app. So like they either vote A or B, option A or option B. And that's that. This is a little bit different because I'm actually creating and modifying like a balance. So this is going to be a little bit different, which is okay. So this is like a custom instruction data. So like in my create new entry, I'm going to pass in this. So like this part right here, comment that out. Basically this part right here. So when we do our context is one thing, but then we have arguments to our instruction. The arguments, I could do something like, the type. Well, what is it? What's the data type on it? Type could be a debit or credit. And then another argument could be amount, for example. Like what type of entry type is this, and what amount are you using, to modify this ledger token amount? Yeah. And once we had access to the deal, like I said, it would be like the ledger.token account would be updated by like performing some sort of SPL token transfer. It's kind of my thinking. So that's where I'm at. So I don't need to do, I think one of the things that's, for me, it's like that was the type over here. That instruction was completely different. Just thinking, how would this get built up? Just like, yeah, so like this topic, content. I mean, I literally could just do, you know, could be like new entry, you know, create entry, have the context, but then you have like the type, and it's maybe it's an enum, you know, as a debit or credit or whatever, and then the amount is, you know, a U64 or, you know, something, and then from there we use that to perform like the transfers. Certainly maybe easier to do, to be honest. But I don't know. I'm going to see what I can, let's see how far this goes. So if I don't do ledger instruction, but I call it instead, I don't know if I want those available, just one or two. Maybe looking at this like tweet thing, like update tweet. The arguments are the same, but things are a little bit different. You're passing in like new So this is a full-on struct. So it's not when I save it. I mean, I think it would be handy to keep track in for each entry that's created, you have something like This is where I'm getting, I don't want to like over complicate this. This is different for like that's not a type, right? Like I don't know if I can do it like that. What if I did something like this, where like I store just the operation, and rather than it's literally like 1 or 2. I don't know. And then evaluate. Could maybe do something like I mean, that works. It's a little overkill though. But the idea is like I'd like to store a record of the operation similar to, well, I don't really store any operation on it. Like in my original one, literally like the ledger struct literally has 2 fields, color and the balance. That was it. But that's the ledger. I'd like to create, this is creating an entry. So we're kind of keeping track of that. And how I was doing that with the voting was like keeping track of like what type of vote. So I think this is okay. Entry operation. Plus it uses enums and custom instructions. matching on an entry type and its operation property, which is an enum, which has, you know, credit, debit. You know, questions that I have is, you know, what about like modifying, canceling, deleting? So I think that could be. And one thing I'm forget is like, do I need to do entry operation? It's been a while since I've worked with like the Rust book is awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Certainly not needed for a simple operation like this, but yeah, it's like, I think it would do something like this. That's the first variant. And the second variant, I think that works. And I could do like, literally probably could change it to yeah. We'll keep it simple. Literally is like so this whole entry type entry operation. Hang on, maybe if I call this entry operation data, and I'm changing things on entry operation data, and then these will be entry type. Type. I just feel like type is just a simple like debit credit. The operation, entry operation. It's really, to get really wordy, it's called entry operation. Or I could do entry type instruction data. I mean, this is instruction data, so it's an argument. what does entry type instruction data? Let's do it. It's it's entry type instruction data. I know it's wordy. I'm keeping it kind of consistent. Entry type instruction data. Entry type instruction data. We will evaluate the entry type instruction data. I'm just trying to reinforce like my understanding of these things. This is the entry type. It's literally just a simple enum, which cool. I can have a custom struct to process this instruction data, doing things like this that I'm familiar with. That said, I do want to keep track of type. We're going to go back to calling this entry type as an enum. Yeah, okay. Okay. One question I do have is I don't think I need to. But yeah, like kind of how would I store this, if at all? I want to be able to test it out, you know? So, all right. So we're going to have an authority. We need a reference to the ledger, so the ledger's PDA. We're going to have an entry number. So starting from 0 type of thing. An entry type, which is going to be an enum, a timestamp, and a bump. I don't know what else. Oh, yeah. Not just a type, but I would like to do a memo, kind of like a pub. Let's do entry memo. And that's going to be a type string. And we're going to limit how much content we do in that. So this could be like, birthday money from, grandparents. Fortnite skin. Kind of like a memo. Just do memo times entry type, entry number, ledger, pub key. Yeah, I think we're good. So if we did something like that, so discriminator, authority, entry number, entry, not option. Do type and const timestamp length, because it is the timestamp length. And then it's kind of nice to put the memo which is of type string. I'll do max memo length. I'm just kind of copying this. I like the way that this example, this Twitter example, I feel like pretty good. And it's going to be how many characters long. So like we could do maybe we do 50. And then const string length prefix. This is part of like every string that's saved. You need this first 4 stores the size of the string. The first 4 bytes when they're separating the data out, and there's a really good handy guide on the cookbook. I think accounts, deep dive, yeah, get into the data. On where is it at? Man, there's a really good reference. I'm not finding it. Goes into like how the data is broken down and stored when you're kind of computing the account sizing, but I'm not finding it, so it's there. I'm just, too many things are going on my mind. This is, yeah, data size. This kind of gives you an idea. And like whenever you're doing, let's see, they don't have a type string on this one, but no, this is specific for a SPL token account. It shows you like how each byte is stored. First the pub key for the mint, and then the owner and the amount, and blah 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 blah. But you get the idea. Specific for strings, every string there's like a first 4 bytes that allows you to determine like the size of the string, so then it can know at which byte does the string end, essentially. So yeah, that was a detail I learned way back when. So all right, so we're gonna have a timestamp, a memo, and a bump. Yeah, I think that may be authority entry number. Oh wait, definitely const ledger. Can't forget that. Yeah. I don't need to call it pubkey, I just like authority length, the ledger entry number, entry type, which is an enum, which has its own unique sizing. I looked that up, and because mine, the largest variant, the size of the largest variant, it's just 2 timestamp, and then we need this kind of prefix for string, because what follows that is our memo length, giving it 50 characters, and the bump. Yeah. So the big ask right now, the big thing for me is like, do I store, how do I store this operation? You know, like the amount and stuff. I mean, it's going to be used, but I'm only storing the type. So that may change. I may have to rethink that. But discriminator, authority, we got under, oops, entry number, type, timestamp, bump. Okay, that should be right. We're going to use a C prefix of that. And then, yeah, we need to just make sure that all this aligns. So, ledger pub key. And this is going to be a type in. Oh, wait. No, that's right. How do they store the timestamp? Timestamp again is just I64. What is I64? I know this is unsigned. Obviously it's 64 bits. And then what next we have the memo, type string, and then the bump. Yeah. Okay, and we're not creating a vote, we're creating an entry with all these fields. So okay. Looks like we have that. One thing that comes to mind though is this sort of instruction, this bit right here for the instruction data. It actually may make sense to put that inside my the actual create entry file here. So yeah, but overall, I think that will do it. I'm gonna try this out. I definitely think that there's a lot of added complexity trying to do this kind of thing, using like enums and doing my own instruction data, but I found this was really cool. Learned a lot from the original Ledger program when being able to do like your own kind of custom instruction data like this. Not so much just standard kind of primitive types of like strings and whatnot. Being able to like really pass more than this type of instruction arguments. So we'll see. I'll probably, we'll see. So next time. Okay, I need to start creating this entry, working on this entry instruction. We have the state, and I've trying something like this. It's going to replicate quite a lot from both my original Ledger program as well as kind of this creating vote instructions. So use create. It's going to be create state and well, entry type instruction. I don't know if that works because like we have entry type. Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. So this is going to be okay. It's going to have context. It's going to be something like that, and then we need to. It's really like. Something like that, and it returns a result. Yeah, right. I don't know why it's not formatting. Missing type for function parameter. Oh, well, yeah. It doesn't have this is the macro. Is it count and debug? Gotta see the syntax. That's it, and we do the pub struct, and this is when we create the instruction struct. So what are we going to be doing here? Well, we're going to think of like all the accounts. So we need like, actually this is a good idea. I'll copy this over because like basically what we're going to be doing is entry. This will be like give you kind of an example, like what this is. Something like that, but that would be the exact same. So it's going to have entry, the ledger, PDA, the wallet, and I feel one more thing. I feel like it's going to be maybe the perhaps which comes from the ledger, just incremented. So like, so thinking like accounts needed. Well, we need authority. The ledger. What else? The ledger has like all the other details. So let's see. Here, created the vote, which is like creating the entry. Need a mutable reference to the poll, mutable reference to the profile, because of these things. Authority and system program. Okay. Those certainly need, authority. Let's put address up here, one line. And what else? Token. Maybe. Let me see. Let's go to token account. I mean, we are going to be modifying this token account, and we are probably going to be using the token program. Rent and don't know. I don't know that. But we may need the token program because inside this instruction, we're going to actually need the SPL token program to modify the ledger token account, ATA, associated token account. So I do feel like token program. I could do token or something like that. What do I look like? Signer is right. Yeah, it's token. Sysvar rent. I don't know. don't even know if I ever used this, to be honest. The rent. Taking a look at some of these others. Don't think I ever did it. For that one. Let's see, this is creating vote. Yeah, there's no rent there. This is a PDA. So I don't think we need that. Authority, profile, poll. Yeah. I feel like that should suffice. Now, one thing I do need to do is bring in I do need to bring in SPL token. The mint. I don't know if I need type mint. Maybe. Token account for sure, and token. But even token account, do I need to pass in that instruction? I'm not sure. When to like modify it? Not entirely sure. Oh. And that's the complaint. So file not included in the module tree. Let's go back over here. Mod. I'm not entirely sure. I gotta review this a bit. But I think that should do that part. What about state? Yeah, same thing. Pub. Right? And then what does this look like? Use state. I think. A little bit of trial and error here. All right, so not. Let me close that one out. Go back to this. Unused, yep, certainly unused. And right now, I don't even know, yeah, unnecessary brackets. Because I'm only using the token at this point. I may later add stuff, but like what am I using here? I'm just using entry, right? No entry in state. The hell? What is this? And this it? Okay. You know, I'm gonna look back. There's this really awesome tic-tac-toe example from Anchor and the Anchor docs. It's kind of like it's a really good reference. And I'm going to see how they did it because it's been a while. Pub mod errors. But see, I have a directory called state, and that literally was like pub use game pub mod. Pissing me off. Just getting, yeah, instructions and state, right? Like that's good. But why am I, okay, this, I need to shut down. Too many tabs. Why is, yeah, and then this, it's also this mod thing from the instructions. They do use and then mod, use and then mod. Am I doing that right? Use mod. No. Use mod. Don't know if this matters at all, but Lordy, trying to keep my brain wrapped around all this. Is that how they? Okay. So like, use everything that's in create ledger, use everything in create entry, and make it accessible as a mod. And then let's go ahead and open up this, and we'll do that in Windows C. And how do they do it? Yeah, use instructions, use state. Okay. So this is like use state entry, right? But I'm not using it yet. Or maybe at all. Let's see. So pub function, it's going to be this bit of code, more or less, that I was experimenting with, or like create entry data. Oops, wrong key. Instruction data, and we're going to call this yeah. So why is that not available? From state. You know what? Right? Like, how do you import this damn thing? Here they do. Crazy. It's like too much, man. I gotta go through the Rust docs. It gets a little like, the hell. Well, do I need to do like state? Okay. One thing that's missing though is back in my create entry instruction, hang on, curious. So like in use create errors, use create state game. Use create state entry. Yeah. I feel like that should work. I feel like I could do like entry, everything from entry, right? State game, state entry. I don't know. Oh shit. We need to do something like use of undeclared create or module entry, use of undeclared create or module. Entry type instruction data. Man, I feel like that's This is my state. Like, what the hell? Okay. Getting a little turned around here. The hell? It's a map, a hash map? What? Dude, is it just like my language server is like... Oh my god, don't tell me. Don't tell me. It was my language server messing up. Oh my god. That's like 20 minutes of like making me think I'm going absolutely crazy. And that's frustrating. Okay. Well, I feel can I do like no. I need multiple types. So we're going to do entry type, entry type instruction, data. Let's try that. Unresolved. We're going to LSP restart. See if it still complains, because I don't trust it at this point. I don't trust it at this point. Yeah, okay. Feel like we're obviously going to need a mutable of our public ledger. And it's going to be count info ledger, right? Yeah. And I do need create state ledger. Okay. This ledger. Yeah, it's unnecessary at this point. All right, I'm gonna figure this. Got to figure this out later. I need to take a break. Okay, so been researching, refreshing my memory a little bit. I don't do a whole lot with Rust. Learning that as well, and just its module system. So found the Rust book, bringing paths into scope with the use keyword. Obviously, great example. Some Stack Overflow questions. Pub use versus pub mod. I really liked this answer. It's basically like saying mod foo with the semicolon is akin to bringing in like the whole module into your scope. So it's like as if you wrote the mod and then the brackets and then all the content inside. And then my understanding is once the module has been made available, in my case, then this use keyword is kind of like a handy shortcut to bring in stuff into your scope, current scope. Meaning like you can by doing something like this, I don't have to create custom program, use this and then asterisk. Then basically I have everything that is here available. And then using like ultimately like what it comes down to is that inside my lib file I have I'm bringing in these modules so I can make them available, and I'm importing them from like files. And this use instructions, use state allows me to do stuff like this. I could, because instructions also has create vote or create poll. This is looking at like a different program. This is but like this is a working example. But inside my mod, I have this folder, which is going to be a module. And I have a bunch of like sub modules here. Each of these create ones are like sub modules essentially. And I wrap them all up. I bring in all these sub modules together, and I was following, a guide on this. So my hunch is that they also add the pub use lines, so that whenever I bring it into the lib, like pub mod instructions, like the whole thing, then I can kind of quickly reference and use them like this. I don't know if I got rid of like these use statements, would anything change? Because essentially this pub mod instructions already has in the mod, it already has this pub use for each of these like sub modules, I think is how I'm kind of interpreting this. So I'm already bringing kind of like handy quick shortcuts so I can use them. So I don't know if that's a little bit of redundancy there. Another example that I've used in the past, like the official Anchor tic-tac-toe program through the docs. It's really good. It has its source file, and so my understanding is like what I've through reading up on this stuff a bit more because I was tired of being too confused. But basically, kind of the hierarchy of all this stuff is like you have like a workspace, like a full anchor work, like a Rust cargo kind of workspace. And then inside of your workspace, you can have like multiple what they call packages. And packages, workspaces kind of group a bunch of related packages, but then your packages can store like one or more crates, essentially. And in particular, like your packages have either like binary crates or library crates. Those are kind of like the two categories of crates. So it goes like workspace contains packages or one package. Packages contains crates. And the crates could be either like binaries or a library. I think one of the things I learned is that a package can only contain as one library crate, but multiple binary crates. And the binary crate is it's that main.rs file, whereas the packet or the library crate is the lib.rs file. So obviously, like when building these programs, like we're working with the lib. So this is the library crate. Yeah. So I think the reason to add, and this is from the official docs, I think the reason to add this use instructions and the use state, even though we have the modules here, is I think it's just a convenience of like shorten our code. Like we don't have to maybe write like the full path. Perhaps I could be wrong. Certainly would surprise me. But let me see if this guy, Jeff Nojal, had a modules pub and use, pretty cool example here. And then there was another video. It was really well done. It's just kind of like a high level like comparison of all these. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I think there's a reason to be bringing in not only the module but these use statements. One of the things that I'm still a little confused about is like, okay, here we have use instructions, but I've also seen use crate instructions. I don't know. I don't even know if that would work. Actually, let me just see. Use crate instructions. And that seems to give me access to like the function play and set up game and even some structs. So like modules, and because I'm pulling it in, I think that would do the same. I think these two lines are the same essentially. But something to keep practicing and getting familiar with. But this was really handy, and obviously reading the docs is probably worth the time, even though I'm anxious to kind of keep going, but I'm a little too confused on that. So I'm going to try to hopefully that was helpful, just talking through it, but maybe that makes sense. But correct me if I'm wrong on anything that is an obvious error. There's tons of documentation on that, but people who know this better than I. But yeah, so I'm going to try to make sure that I get my own ledger program and importing these modules and whatnot, get that all sorted out so then we can continue and building up the create entry and the entry state and the entry instruction. So yeah, let's get to it. All right, so I'm gonna kind of go through and just double check. I had to open up a different terminal just side by side so I can kind of double check my stuff. So I'm going to go with first the I want to just kind of look at these, see if there's anything different. Yeah, and I really don't know the difference in the order. I think what I've seen, I don't think it really matters so much, but yes, last time I was kind of messing around with stuff, so I think I'm gonna go back to what I have here in my voting project that I've done, just because they probably know better. But the idea is like, in my mind, like the module is like where all the code is at. Like it's the file. It has all the functionality and structs and whatnot. So, and then my understanding of the use keyword is just to kind of conveniently bring it in. And so here in this case, like it's got all of the create ledger stuff, functionality and structs. So that looks okay. Again, like I don't know if it would be like crate. I haven't seen that. So like pub use crate. Stop doing that. I don't know if it's like create ledger. I mean, it seems to have the same access to everything. So maybe the crate keyword isn't really it doesn't represent anything. I mean, it's like there's no difference. I've already brought in the module. But yeah, just trying to figure out the difference here. But anyway, so that looks okay. Let's go to my main ledger. And in this case, I'll say it kind of compares to my poll, create poll. Again, I don't know if it's yeah, here's an example where I'm using crate, but yeah. In ledger, for state-wise, this is just convenient in the sense that like I can reference ledger directly. Whereas if I didn't have this, I think I'd have to do something like, yeah, fail to resolve use of undeclared type. I think I would have to do things like maybe even create or something like, well, let's see. I don't know if I could do, because I haven't brought in the module I haven't brought in any sort of functionality here, so I don't know if I could do something like create state okay, that kind of worked as a path. Create state ledger. Yeah. But then every time I reference ledger, I'd have to would do that. And same with like, so as a shortcut, you can use create, pull it in, and then I don't have to do that. It makes the code just a little bit more convenient. In a way, it's kind of, yeah, it's like import statements with JavaScript, right? You're importing, kind of like destructuring, importing specific functions or variables or values from like from a package. Anyway, I think that makes sense. So create entry. This one was where I was having some issues last time. It's kind of the equivalent of my vote. Don't have to worry about the mod, like I'm not pulling in mods here from what I can see. And again, I'm just making the ledger available, and I wonder, like, state, like this is pulling in a few things from state in this voting. And if I look at vote RS, just curious, this module has the vote struct, and it has the vote option enum. Okay. Now, I wonder, this works. I'm doing them separately. But I also wonder if I could do something like, since it's coming from the same vote option, I think that works, because they both are coming from the same module. So yeah, okay. What is this complaining about? I think this may be sometimes too, the language server can mess up a little bit when I'm changing up every like modules and imports like this, but I think that makes sense. I think this could work. I think another way of writing this could be use create state and then inside ledger and entry, and then like, and yeah, something like entry. Let me see if I can entry type, and entry type instruction data. I don't know. I think that works though. I think that works as well. Just kind of a different way of organizing it. So anyway, I'll comment that out. That's looking okay. In here, I expect to be able to, I'm going to need access to ledger, like the ledger struct and these entry state. Yeah, so, all right, that's instructions. If I go to state now, let's close that down. Let's look at state here. I'll reverse the order, put the modules pub mod, making them publicly accessible, these modules, ledger and entry files, making these files accessible elsewhere. And then, yeah, this whole pub use kind of shortcut bringing them in. So I think that works. Let me check out the ledger. Here's kind of like the equivalent of my poll. Yeah, nothing there. Just a typical use anchor. And then vote. That's the same as well. And I imagine it to be, yeah, okay. We have some errors here though. Yeah. I'm gonna work with this. I'm having a rethink about this approach. Actually, I think it kind of complicates things unnecessarily. So I'll get to that after I sort out these imports and stuff. And then last, let's check out the library. This is, so again, like, this is a, in my understanding, this is a library crate because it's a lib.rs, and I don't know exactly like how Anchor organizes this, like how each program in an Anchor workspace like works up. So I'm thinking like this whole high level thing is maybe my one like workspace, cargo workspace, and then perhaps each program is kind of treated like a package, perhaps. So, and then again, remember, like workspaces contain packages, like related packages. Packages contain crates. Crates have a couple types: library crates or binary crates. Each package, my understanding, can only contain one library crate, but multiple binaries. And then crates hold like a bunch of modules and functions and, you know, or modules essentially. And then modules have like a bunch of stuff, you know, functions, values. That's my understanding. So maybe that's how it's worked out or organized in an Anchor project. So back to lib. Bringing in the modules and using the use keyword to simplify. So my state would give me access to bringing in the modules, but then I can have kind of more shortcut. Like I don't have to write out the full path to everything because of using this use statement. And I think I've more or less determined that I could also just write it like this. I think. But I don't know if I need to because I've brought in the module, and yeah, so I have a little bit of confusion onto like what's actually happening here. Like, do I even need this part? You know what I mean? There's some part of me that feels like there's maybe some redundancy here, but I don't know the answer to that. And so I'm going to keep it like that and do this. And obviously I am not done with state. There's some stuff that I need to do. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So now I want to continue working on this entry state and the create entry instruction. Okay. So having a little bit of a rethink on how I process my this entry. So for example, let me close some of this stuff out. Here's our lib. Still complaining. And here we have the entry state, and I'm going to add the create entry instruction here. Unresolved imports, create. Let me see. Before I do anything, I've been messing around with this stuff back and forth. I don't want to have it complaining to me because of that. Sometimes I need to just restart it. So yeah, so let me, one of the things that's come to mind is this entry type instruction data, this instruction data instruction argument. Like, so in my original ledger program, I learned about how to make kind of custom instruction data. It was pretty cool. Learned some new stuff and was able to, build a whole new struct that was basically used from that, showing how Anchor does some really cool things with its macros, and this whole Anchor serialize and deserialize like functionality, like it does a lot of the stuff for us rather than having to do it just kind of native Solana code, Rust code. That said, it was a cool example where I could build like a struct, as instruction data that had its own shape, and then implement some new functionality to it, attach some new functionality to it, such as like adding some custom functions and whatnot. Super cool. And it worked quite well for a basic ledger modification. There's another example of custom instruction data from the Anchor tic-tac-toe. So if I do Anchor tick like, this is an older version using older Anchor version, but this was a really handy introduction to kind of how to do this. And here we have these instructions such as setup game, play, and whatnot. And then your instructions have optional instruction arguments besides like the accounts that we need to pass. Okay. Often it will be kind of like some type, like a string or a U32, integer or something like that. But sometimes you can make it a custom thing, such as tile, for example. So this is passing a tile, to the play instruction. We're passing tile, where we can see and they put this in state, game, and then if I look up tile, here it is. Okay, this right here is custom instruction data, and you get to build it and shape it however you want. They call it tile. It's got a row and column value, pretty basic, but it's passed whenever it's passed to the game instruction. So this whole play game, or play instruction, I should say. I think it's called play. Yeah. Okay. So I'll open this on the side. But what's kind of neat about play is this is the accounts struct. So this is the context, essentially. Here are all the accounts that are going to be needed to run this play instruction, okay? So that comes in the context here. But here we have a tile as a custom instruction data. And, we go through the accounts and we extract it, get a mutable copy, mutable access reference to the game account, and then we can do some stuff. And what we do essentially is play. And whenever we play, we pass a borrowed reference to this tile. And again, the tile is just a row column struct. I mean, that's it. Nothing to it. But then you see when we do play right here, it's doing a match on the tile and updating state and that kind of thing. Really cool to see. This is another example of how custom instruction data can be used. This is good practice, good reference for me to learn more about Rust. I think the match is super powerful in Rust. You're matching the tile, but then inside of the match, you have this other cool, tile is a struct. It's got a row and column fields. And here it's basically, okay, we're matching on the tile that's passed to our play function. Specifically a tile with a row and column values, kind of like a range, 0 to 2, I think inclusive. So you can imagine this is like your little crisscross tic-tac-toe board. Yeah. And so it's like, okay, if we can match a tile, a type, a struct with values in anything in these ranges for the two fields, then does some stuff like with the game board, and checks like is it already set? Is that square already been taken? Those sorts of things. So this gets more into the details, and I went through it a long time ago, but it's available here. It's a great reference. But my whole point is this is an example of a custom instruction data, how it can be used. So back to my project, when I learned a very, very basic example of this was using, okay, I want to have my own ledger instruction and, add some fields to it where the operation is telling me, like, is it going to add, subtract from the ledger, and basically the amount to work with. It was cool. It was fun to implement. The original modify instruction didn't have anything. It was literally like, okay, tell me, give me the accounts that are needed, essentially the ledger, and whatever the new balance is. So you're just like straight overwriting it. You're not doing any addition. You're just updating, the balance was 30 and now I'm passing a new balance and setting it to 50. It's just like 30 and now it's 50. Obviously, it was 20 was added to that account in that example. So it was a really, really basic example. And then we expanded on it by using kind of this custom instruction data. Super cool. I liked it. But I think for my purposes, for this this entry thing example, I really want to keep track of the type of entry as well as like the amount that we're working with. I think that's just standard, like pretty standard. Rather than working with enums and this custom instruction data, and then this custom instruction data, and then implementing and adding, this custom function and doing all and matching on this, I feel like that's a little much for what I'm trying to achieve. Is what I'm getting at. So I think I'm going to update this a little bit and simplify it. And what I mean is, I think back to each entry up here, entry number is going to be needed. Entry type, I could see myself still like using, and I'm going to restart this server, language server. I could see myself using an enum with some different variants. I think that's pretty handy. So then, like, instead of debit credit type of thing, I could consider doing like literally just entry type. Could do like I could do credit, debit, I could possibly do something like that, where these are the variants. This is a create entry instruction. I see myself doing like an update entry, or like modify entry, or cancel entry, some further instructions. But I think at the most basic level, we could do something like, something like debit, credit, and maybe some, we can add some more options later. But, this gives me a chance to like match on an enum. Cool. Nothing too crazy there. And I think I'm going to move this up closer because I think as an update to myself, so as a reference, I think I'm going to use this. I'll leave this here. It's kind of nice to know. But thinking about like what are the things that are going to be needed to execute an entry, I think I would do I could say something like entry type, or maybe I just call it I don't even know if I need entry type. Trying to just think like, what are some standard like record keeping, you know, that I would do for this. You know, as I'm thinking about like the financial side of things, I think I need to so I need to you know, things like obviously like the amount involved. Could consider later maybe adding like I mean, the token's going to be the same because we're going to have the token account, so I don't really need to like specify like which token. I don't think. Because like when I initialize a new ledger right now, for simplicity, I'm creating the ledger and I'm creating an associated token account tied to a particular mint. Maybe later I'll expand on that. So when I create a ledger, I have multiple token accounts that get initialized for some odd reason, perhaps, but keeping it simple for now. I'm just thinking like, what else would I need to add in terms of arguments? So like the entry type and the amount that we're dealing with, and that should be like, that should be about it. We're going to automatically save the timestamp to the entry account PDA and stuff. So, yeah. And a memo that's already there. So I think that's enough. So it would look something like this. And I'll make a little note. So entry number, I don't have to pass that as an argument to my instruction, but the type will do, and we're going to go ahead and store amount. And we'll use well, that's going to be 8 bytes. So that's going to do entry length, entry type. Get rid of this, and we'll call it amount length. Something like that. Needed to update and add that here. And here as well. So we're adding a new field to this. So we get the authority, the ledger, the entry number, the entry type, the amount, timestamp, memo, bump, yada, yada, yada. Feel like we're doing okay. Yeah. I'm just thinking, should I be a little bit more entry number, entry type, entry amount. Just seems I don't need to do all that. So an entry will have authority, ledger pub key, entry number, entry type, amount. We'll keep it like that. I think that works. Naming variables is always a pain in the ass. Let's see. Amount length. So yeah, I feel as if we're doing okay there. I'm going to not use a custom instruction. Instead, just keep it simple and do something like this. Yeah. So that's a slight little change. I think I'll be happy with that. But it's also cool, get to work with like enums a little bit and can match on the variant and stuff. So, okay. I think that's good. Now, I'm going to as a reference, I'm going to paste that once. And then I'm going to close this thing down. I'm going to go back to lib. And we're going to change this. It's not going to be create entry like this. Instead, it's got to align with this, right? We're going to go with, I called it entry type. So I'll call it entry type. It means do this, entry type. So this is from the library. Now the trick is, okay, let's think about, move this over here. Let's think about the accounts that are going to be needed. We certainly need the ledger, which gives us access to the token account. We need the authority, we need the token, we need the system. We also need to initialize our entry. So that's going to be something like yeah, all right, so we're going to be using, we need to init. So it's going to be an account, and here Copilot's trying to help me out. Pair will be authority space. We have access to entry account space, which we have defined on that. The prefix will be entry, not, oh yeah, we are going to be using the ledger key. The wallet key, no, we're going to call that, it's called authority. And then the last bit will be entry number. Wow, GitHub Copilot. And then of course you got to pass the bump for because it's a PDA. So what's kind of cool about this as well is that Anchor has what we call constraints as you are initializing and recovering. You can do, and I'm going to try to find an example. So let's go to I'll go to my escrow program, and what would it be? Could be create escrow. What did I call it? What did I call it? Let's do it over here in B. Where Anchor has some really cool constraint functionality and features. I don't know. Yeah, okay. So for this, we're making sure that we're going to call this an entry, and yeah, it's going to be account info of type, not type, but of struct entry. So this is the account structure that we gave it. To get our ledger, can use something like, certainly need to get access by using like our seeds. So because it's a PDA, this is our ledger. Well, we have our, what is it, the ledger seed prefix as ref. And you know what? It's an array with multiple seeds, so I'm going to spread this out. We have that one, because it follows kind of like a, the ledger itself follows something like, it's going to be, this is just for something, it's going to do something like ledger. I think we have the wallet, it's more like authority, and then anything else that I used for ledger for a seed, and the wallet, and it needs to be unique, so I'm missing another field. I'm forgetting. Oh, name. The name field. Yeah. So, plus name. So in this case, it's like, before we can get a mutable, whenever we try to create an entry, we need access to the ledger account, okay, which is a PDA, and we need to, and before we can actually use it and modify it and that sort of thing, we need to derive the PDA with the seeds. Well, the authority is going to be the same authority that created the ledger. So we can do authority.key. Yeah. I don't know why it does that formatting. And then last, we'll do the it's going to be ledger dot we need the ledger name. I don't know if that's correct. So it does that for seeds. And then you can also add some constraints. So basically, thinking of like, you can add some constraints. These are checks that Anchor will do for us to ensure that like everything aligns. So what needs to align? Okay, so we're creating an entry on a ledger. Well, obviously the ledger PDA, like the ledger address, needs to be the same of the entry ledger, the entry's ledger pub key field. Like we want, like that needs to be consistent. So I think I could do something like ledger dot well, what would it be? It's like ledger key equals entry dot ledger pub key dot key, something like that. what other thing? We also want to make sure as another constraint that the ledger dot authority dot key is equal to the entry authority. Now I don't know if this is going to work because at this point this is the create entry instruction, and we are first initializing this entry account inside of this instruction, and so I don't know if I can actually use this. So I need to look a little bit because I've done this before, where there are some conflicts and you can't do it sometimes. So yeah, it will complain for sure when I actually try to do it. So we'll eventually have to address it, but I'm trying to think. Do we need to? Just looking back through some examples of when I've used this. One idea is that this ledger account, which is a PDA, we're going to grab it. But another thing, what I'm not sure, is if I pass just this account, is that enough to access the ledger token account? The token account that's stored inside this ledger, because I'm definitely going to have to use that account in this instruction, that token account, because I'm either going to be transferring to or transferring from that account. So I need to make sure that that's good. And we're getting a mutable of this. Do I need? In this example I did over here, I'm using name is already a string, authority as ref. Maybe I don't need the key, or maybe I don't need both is what I mean. Looks like I can get rid of the string as ref, and then bump equals ledger.bump. this. Done with this. So this is interesting. This is the cancel for my escrow. For the cancel, even though the escrowed, the token account was inside of the escrow, and we're getting a mutable copy, like a mutable reference of it. Here I'm passing it as a separate account in my instruction struct, and I'm doing it again here. Do we need to create an escrowed? We do need buyer and sellers out and then token. So part of me, looking back on my escrow program, part of me is thinking I'm going to need the I'm actually going to need access to the mute token account after all, like the ledger dot. So like well, yeah, ledger dot token account. But here we can do some constraints. Well, what do we want? We want the token account key, like its key is equal to the ledger dot token account key, right? Is it key? Oh, I don't need. Why does it say? I just read I had a note. Just had a note on something like this right here. So this is canceling. I need to make sure that I just need an escrow authority. I see. So, like, this is the token account, right, that I'm trying to get. And it's a token account from the token program. Nothing crazy there. But here, because we're talking about this particular account, I don't need to reference its key because I'm going to have access to the direct value. Okay, so I think I think we don't need it. Like right here. This need constraint. Yeah, we need a match on the constraint. Yes, but just need escrow.authority. No .key needed. Because token account is going to be a public key, type public key. So I don't think I need anything else from that. Same with authority over here, like escrow authority. I could be wrong, but I know sometimes you don't maybe fully need all that. So of course, oops. Of course, the great thing about working with Rust is its compiler's amazing. It's going to tell you like that you're wrong, and it really does a good job of trying to get you to get you in the right spot to fix it. So this token account, we want to make sure that token account is the same address of this attached of this ledger token account field. So you want to make sure that like the two align, and that's the kind of cool thing about Anchor, is it does this sort of thing for you. What other? That was the only constraint that I used earlier in the escrow program. So I think that's enough. But I do feel like that I need to bring this in, this token account in. I don't think that I would be able to only do the ledger, because like the ledger dot token account. Yeah, I think I could experiment. What am I trying to say? When I already have access to. It's a good question. I can experiment with that. I don't know. This is the create entry. I do want to, like, the obvious constraints that come to mind is like I want to make sure that the like ledger, and I don't know if I need the key because I'm gonna have access to it right here, but like that I don't know if I can do these sorts of things, these sorts of constraints, because the entry account itself is not, it's getting initialized in this instruction. So I think that limits what I have available. Let me see, constraint, because I know I worked a lot with this somewhere, and I believe it was from the escrow program. I'm not initializing anything here. Let's go up here. Let's go up here. Did I try to do any constraints? was my curious about like create vote. Okay, this is what I recall. When I'm initializing, can I add constraints inside of this? And like, for example, for this entry account, can I add some constraints directly? And I don't think I can. Everything that I used with vote. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So like, is kind of how I get it. It's not available yet, so I don't think I can do that. What other constraints could I consider? Maybe I don't need them. Maybe I don't need them. Yeah. I could consider. I mean, I'm already doing. I mean, one, could I do ledger authority? Like, the authority should match. Meaning, like, here we're passing authority. I feel like that could work. Maybe. We'll try that out. So, Yeah, what happened? I'm trying to format. No matching language servers. Okay, those. Copilot. Not attached. This is LunarVim, and it's got a bunch of packages and stuff that it uses, kind of like best in class. And this Mason thing is just awesome. So let's see. We have some updated language servers. Let's do G question mark. Update all. Okay. Oops. Leader. Language. Mason. Oh, I guess when I did Shift U, I guess it did it. Problem installing packages. Oh, problems, I see. Nice, okay. It's doing my formatting. The reason why I'm doing this is I've been trying to restart my language server, but for Rust, and normally it works really well, but it's not liking it today, and I don't really want to completely like restart all kinds of stuff. Slight little detour. All right, let's see if this is any. No matching servers. I may. And do it to new. All right. Well, we'll just. Now I feel like I don't have Rust I feel like out of all the language to have. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do let's see, is it current working present working directory. Okay, so if I do mks and then sorry, having a little bit of issues with I'm gonna quit all. LVM, get right back into it. We're gonna get into create entry, and we're gonna get into create float. And I feel like, yeah, thank you. Okay. Now we have some help. Entry cannot find. Yes, okay, because I need to do entry dot. And you know what? Entry dot entry number. It's actually a number, so I need to do to string and then as ref. Well, could be a part of the problem. Did get rid of entry type instructions, but we still have entry type. I feel that should help me out a bit. No field. I do have entry number as a field here. Did I forget it somewhere? Yeah, I've done the exact same thing. Like here, it was like poll. Number is poll number is a number, toString, then as ref. Strange. But the compiler doesn't lie. Oh, yeah. The compiler is amazing. Binary cannot be applied to. Okay. Let's do. Trying to see how I did for the escrowed token account. I'm initializing it here. Don't need that. But accepting it, I still need to access because I'm going to be modifying its values. Did end up using key. And that did, okay, so all right, so like token account is a public key. I'm getting mutable reference to it, but yet I still need to use the key. I don't know. The compiler, but the compiler does. That is not, that's not a joke. All right, so no field, entry, number. Well, we're initializing it. Oh. it's not entry number, it should be ledger entry count. Because I don't think I can use this is where I need to go back to the polls. Creating a poll, get a poll number. What about like when, and this is creating a vote. So creating a vote, let me see if I get create poll. How did I do this? So the idea here is, so my problem is here, like I need to create a new entry. It needs to be associated with the ledger. So in order to do that, we store the ledger's public key. Okay, this thing right here. That makes this entry have access or like a connection or relation to a specific ledger. The entry number, the idea is to use the entry number field to be a help with a unique identifier, because PDAs, you use these seeds and it will derive a unique address. But I need it to be unique. If I didn't have count or like some number and I only use these three, it's going to say entry, the ledger public key, which is going to be consistent. It's going to be the same for all entries associated with this ledger. And the authority is also going to be the same. So there's no unique identifier. Like there's no way I can't derive again and get another unique PDA with only these three C's. Therefore, I need access to something. The idea was to use that's where I'm at. Like, I don't know if I should use the timestamp, or my initial thought was to do what I could do is something like ledger dot entry count plus 1 to string, just like I'm doing in ZF. Certainly could work. And it's an increment because like every time we create a new entry, we just increment. And we're going to, inside here, in this actual instruction, once we have access to all these accounts and the entry type and the amount, somewhere in here we're going to, set entry dot entry numbered equal to ledger dot entry count plus 1 something like that. And that's what we do. Or, you know, I may, and this is also the same as like ctx.accounts.ledger. You know, something like that. But basically, that's what we're doing, or what we're going to have to do. And then we'll have, that would give us every entry has its own unique entry number value. And therefore, now with these seeds, we can, in theory, well, not in theory, this is how it works. We can derive a unique PDA address specific for this entry account. So, yeah, that's that. And we're starting to look a little bit better. Meaning like we're not getting as many, we're not getting any compiler complaints so far. So yeah, so now like if we're right with our accounts, like these are all the accounts that are going to be needed. We're going to need the entry account because we got to initialize it. We're going to need the ledger. We're going to need access to the ledger's token account. We can add some constraints to make sure that we're actually getting the correct accounts, you know, that those accounts align. Otherwise, Anchor will, you know, error and it'll stop it. Won't let us make any mistakes like that. And then, yeah, so those are the accounts, and we've all defined that here in this context. We now have, yeah, so kind of following this is like we're gonna need access to the ledger, and you use this kind of mutable reference from the context that's passed, and context has this accounts, not accounts, and then the name of our account is ledger, and this gives us that. We also need, what else do we need? What else do we need, really? We don't need too much from this. Yeah, we really don't. So, because we're following, like, using this kind of, remember this new function is attached to the entry struct we've implemented on that. So like this is where you could do like let entry, and this will, and then I can do entry new. Okay. Well, what does it take? It has, well, we need, what are we passing? Well, we need to pass in the authority. So maybe actually I need, I'm not mutating anything on the authority. I could do, let's just do it. Authority equals no, I'm sorry. The authority we pass in the authority. So I'm thinking what I could do is ledger dot authority. Oops. public key. And what else? We need the ledger address. Well, I think I just the ledger, right? I think that's the whole account. Hang on. Pull. See, create, vote. Maybe this is a better. Yeah, okay. So that would another thing too is because this is better actually. Okay, I'm passing the authority as an account to the context. So, and I'm also doing a constraint check that the ledger's authority equals the same. So to really take advantage of this constraint check, I don't want to use ledger.authority. That kind of is not safe. Better is to do context.accounts, because it's an account that I'm passing, and we call it authority. And because it's a public key, we'll do the whole key. Okay. Next, we want to make sure that we get the key. This ledger has its own address. Sure enough. Okay. And what else? We have to pass in the number. So like the entry number could be what is it? It's going to be the ledger dot entry count plus 1. Okay. What else we have? Oh, this is the type. So this is going to be just the entry type. It's going to be right here. It's going to be passed directly as an instruction argument. So I just set it, entry type. We know it's a enum. Amount. Yeah. Timestamp. That reminds me of the, what is it? Yeah. Remember last time I was mentioned these guys. And they use, for their tweets, they have this timestamp. Type I-64, it's got the size and all that, and I was wanting to try it. I've never used it. don't pass it. Here they go. Cool. All right, so to do that, clock. Yeah, I haven't passed in all of the arguments yet. So after amount, we do, what do we got? We got clock, what do they call it? Clock dot Unix timestamp. Ooh, a memo. And then the bump. And I have this little bumps dot get account name, not seed. This asterisk like is Rust dereference. So I've seen this before, like, so it gets like the raw value. So ctx dot accounts dot, oh no, not accounts, because it's not an account, but it's the bump B tree map. Okay, bumps, and then get, and in this case my account name is called entry. And then this expect is that returns the contained sum, which is like sum or none. It's an option. It's a Rust option. So if it has a value, then returns consuming the self. Otherwise, it returns none. And yeah, Rust is cool. Rust is it's a complicated language for sure, for someone like me. But it's got some cool parts to it that I've enjoyed learning. And then we need, so we're packaging all of this. Cannot find memo, right? So amount, and then last but not least is a memo of, what is that? Why is my memo of type string? Okay. But because I completely forgot about memo here, don't need it. The memo could have been a possible seed. Could have. You know, part of me too is like I could maybe have like a default memo, set it to be some generic, but you know, anyway, I think we're getting there. So yeah, that's that. Now that we have like all of this stuff available, like we've kind of built and passed what we need in theory to create the entry account. could do something like match entry type and literally just do like entry type debit, and it returns I think they have like a MSG message debit. Entry type credit, and all it does is consoles out some like credit, something incredibly bare bones for now. I need to this is where I'm going to be like update our token account. Like this is my next big to do. Rather than just doing some simple logs, right? This is where the work is going to be. Originally, I was thinking maybe I handle it in a custom instruction, and maybe we'll come back to that. But I think for now, we're just going to match and make sure that this seems to be correct. But now we need to now we need to take all of, we do all this stuff. We'll perform, we'll change some balance, we'll transfer, we'll do some stuff. And then once we're all done, kind of package it all back up. I think encoding it. So like this part is like Anchor allows us to decode the data and borrow it and like work with it. And then we got to package it all back up. So update our entry account, and there's this handy little like CTX like set inner and clone. So CTX accounts dot entry, which is our new account that we've just created up top, and we're going to use this set inner, which sets the inner account instead of this. Where you're like dereferencing to get to an account, and then set, like you can do this instead. So the set inner, and then what I've used is clone. So set inner, and we do entry dot clone. It's worked in the past. Works again. I saw that there was another option where I don't clone, but there's like this idea in Rust of like passing memory, like management. When you pass a value like entry to set inner function, if we don't clone it or something, like we no longer have access to it on the subsequent lines. There's more to it. There's a lot more to it, but at a basic level, clone sometimes is okay, even though it's probably not always the best practice. But then, if all that goes well, finally, like update my ledgers, or the ledger dot entry count value if all above is successful. essentially. So then it's like ledger dot entry count plus equal 1. And something like that. Yeah. So right now I'm not doing anything with my token account that involves like SPL token transfers and stuff, but I am curious, you know, how this works, if it works at all. So let's do this. I'll split one more. Okay, so we need to get the Solana test validator going. No issues there. Up here, well, you know what, I'll do it over on this big one. Anchor, build. Let's just see if I can do anchor build ledger. See if that works. All right, so just that is complaining. Oh yeah, some errors. Just go one by one. Compiling instruction data. Oh yeah, programs ledger. The lib, totally forgot. Yeah, won't work because we've changed this. Entry type. What else did we say? Entry type, amount, and memo. And a little bit of redundancy, but entry type, amount, and memo. Yeah. We're just going to build this one again. Get lucky. Hey, hey. It didn't complain. And now let's do anchor deploy program ledger. Okay. And now I don't even have a test for this, but like at least it's built and deployed, right? Solana program show programs. Like these are my active. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, successfully built and deployed. Now, all right. Looks good. So, next step is to bring in, let's see, next step is we want our tests, and we're going to go here, and here's the to-do. We need to do this. I want to do this next and just see with these ledgers that we've created, can I then create, what am I doing? Sorry. Can I then create, you know, an actual entry and have it print out, you know, some basic stuff. So, yeah, looking good. That's pretty encouraging that we didn't get any complaints from Rust. Obviously, I'm having to I'm leveraging and kind of reusing a little bit from old programs, but I mean, hard to keep all this crap in my head. But yeah, I think, can I confirm that? Yeah. So these are going to be, this is going to be the key, is doing some tests for this. Can we pass in like all these accounts that we've, defined here in our test, and will it spit out what we want? And we'll have to do like a little expect check and make sure that our ledger entry count has actually incremented and all that good stuff. So yeah, we'll do that next.